New business, section B, wind ordinance, number 17-0-01, wind energy conversion systems, section 4.3.76, to review the shadow flicker provisions of the wind energy conversion system. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In our ongoing efforts to update and revise the wind energy ordinance that the county has on the books, we're now moving along to shadow flicker. Next will be setbacks. We have no language in our ordinance regarding shadow flicker. Here, as we've done in the past, we provide you two proposals, essentially one that kind of matches up to what's going on, an average, a median of what's going on in the rest of the state, and then one that might be slightly a little more restrictive. Again, staff has taken comments, hearing from the public at these meetings, and we'll come back with an entire revised section for you to review. But for right now, proposal 1 defines shadow flicker as the alternating changes in light intensity caused by the moving blade of the WECS casting shadows on the ground and stationary objects such as, but not limited to, a window at a dwelling. In the general standards of proposal 1, note that this is the one that's kind of, what we kind of feel is middle of the road. It says that WECS shall be designed, sited, and operated in such a manner to minimize shadow flicker on any roadway, non-participating property, or habitable structure. Site plans and other documents and drawings for the commercial WECS shall show mitigation measures to minimize, we gotta change that. Mitigation measures to minimize potential impacts.
Say that 7 times real fast.
And then it references the shadow flicker impact analysis. The standard here is shadow flicker may not fall on any portion of a habitable structure for more than 30 minutes a day or 30 hours per year. Additional standards then would talk about the shadow flicker impact analysis, where it's put upon the developer to provide us detailed information concerning the expected durations of the flicker at locations from sunrise to sunset over the course of a year. Now, they should be able to do this through modeling and computer projection based on the height of the tower, the location of the sun at any given time. Again, I go back to that even though we have this, it talks about minimizing shadow flicker and habitable structure for not more than 30 minutes a day. Staff comment, and I'll say staff comment, I'll give a lot of the credit here to Mike on putting a lot of this together, because if you look at that spreadsheet, it's a lot of number crunching and Red Bulls or Kickstart or whatever that kids drink these days. So anyways, but the comment here, and these are good because I like that you can see that, you know, the 20 communities across Michigan, 15 required some type of mitigation effort to offset the effects of shadow flicker, while 5 did not reference shadow flicker at all. Of the 15 communities regulating, 5 limited the duration of exposure on neighboring properties and or buildings. 5 implemented alternative mitigation efforts. 4 required a shadow flicker analysis and proposed mitigation efforts by the applicant. 1 community prohibited shadow flicker within 100 feet of an occupied structure. So that's the first one. That's the minimize, that's kind of the road. The second one, shadow flicker shall, same definition as before, but this time the general standards talk about designed, sited, and operated in such a manner to prohibit shadow flicker on any habitable structure and to minimize shadow flicker on any roadway or non-participating property. Site plans and other documents shall show mitigation measures to prevent or minimize potential impacts. And then mitigation measures, which we actually kind of outlined here, and this goes back to the one community that prohibited shadow flicker within 100 feet, is that turn off the WECS so the rotors are not moving during the period of time that there's it's affecting a habitable structure, non-participating property, or roadway. So essentially we've been told that these turbines can be shut off maintenance from far-flung places. Well, in 30 minutes on a given day that it may be impacting a house, shut it down. So that, that's an alternative, that's a mitigation activity that the developer can do. So the other is screening, such as forests and other buildings and topography identified as existing or implemented as shield. This is if you have barely have a non-participating property, that a portion of it may be affected on January 15th through the 20th because of the location of the sun. Essentially on the participating property, maybe the developer can take some sort of mitigation effort as to planting evergreens or building a berm with evergreens or some other kind of screening activity. We're not talking about planting 500-foot trees next to the winter. And then the other option is the operator may obtain a written easement or other written agreement. We're still kind of messing around with the whole waiver issue. That even if that we've defined it as participating and non-participating. So if you're involved, you're participating. You're not, you're non-participating. This maybe will give non-participating property owners the ability to sign over some easement or waiver without necessarily becoming quote-unquote participating. It gives flexibility to both sides, essentially. So we're still working on that. So again, the shadow flicker impact analysis that we'd be requesting as part of the petition. Also, Mike outlined sample zoning for wind energy systems, the latest from Michigan State University and the Green Michigan Institute. This is on the last page. It does talk about that shadow flicker travels are not well documented. The information we received from Apex Energy counters that somewhat and says that they do have the ability to model that and know what that's going to impact. It is noted that Mason County, I think, that went through wind turbines with Consumers Energy did have throughout the process a zero flicker policy because it's easier to enforce. So, again, we're trying to provide you as much as we can about what's going on there and giving you some ideas of what can happen and then come back. Apex Energy could not be here tonight and did send us what you have, they did provide for the audience, that they note that shadow flicker is limited in time and location and can be easily and accurately measured and predicted. It talks about its cause in certain climate and weather conditions, specific times of the year, based on the season and the vertical location of the sun at the horizon. So somebody's, I'm sure, got a modeling system that can do that. They also address photosensitivity and concerning people with epilepsy, and they provide you a document from the Epilepsy Foundation. They do suggest that proposal 1 is adequate and reasonable. They do suggest that proposal 2, which would prohibit it on habitable structure, is not reasonable or necessary and could be perceived as restricted and or exclusionary zoning, as it would significantly limit wind energy development. That's all I have.
That's all? All right. Thank you. Matt, do you have any? Yeah, open for discussion. Who would like to? Yes, sir.
Hey, Josh Nolan, I'm here on behalf of folks in regulated wind in Shiawassee County. And a little bit of light reading for you as usual. Bear with me for a second. First off, I'm going to provide you, during our April meeting, I brought up the idea of waiver. You asked me to provide you copies of the case law. I've got one copy of the case law itself, and then a number of copies of the a treatise on the issue, and I've highlighted the applicable language, verifying for everyone that waivers are in fact a lawful and permissive tool for you to use in this process. And I would encourage you to do so, as it will virtually eliminate claims of exclusionary zoning. If you are to leave it up to the citizens as to whether or not they're going to grant the waiver, you virtually eliminate the argument from Apex or any other wind developer that may come along that it's exclusionary, because it's not. They just have to get the consent of the people. Next document, no problem. Next document I'm going to hand out was from Mr. James. He mentioned to you a study that he did in October of last year regarding industrial wind turbine noise. And he sent this to me today and asked that I circulate it.
Just a little wavy.
Just a little, yeah. It'll, if you're ever having trouble sleeping, this will cure that, I guarantee you. So.
This is what's giving me.
That may help a little bit. I would encourage you to read that. It does provide a rather high-level understanding of wind turbine noise and how it may impact individuals who are exposed to it. Last document I'm going to hand around is a red line version of Mr. Preston's proposals that I prepared similarly to what I did last time. Again, similar to last time, Proposal 1 is not something that I believe you should entertain. It is not protective of your residents. It subjects them to shadow flicker when there's absolutely no need to. As Mr. Preston has pointed out, and as Apex and others in the wind industry have acknowledged, there's software out there, there's technology available to eliminate this issue. This is a potentially significant annoyance, and there's no reason that your citizens should have to deal with it. So I'd just like to run through a couple of things real quick on that. I have made a small proposal or small amendment to Proposal 2. At this point, it only protects the house. And as a landowner myself, I believe I should have access to use all of my land. I shouldn't be relegated to be stuck inside my house during periods of shadow flicker or wind turbine noise or blade debris throw or ice throw or anything else. My entire property should be protected from those types of intrusions. And for that reason, I believe that standard Proposal 2 should be modified to not only protect the house, but to also protect the yard, the entire property. It's your land. As we hear time and again from folks who want to have turbines, you should be able to use your land as you see fit. And I firmly agree with that, but I do frequently quote Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes that says, "My right to swing my fist ends where your face begins." And so they absolutely have a right to use their land however they see fit until the point it starts negatively impacting the neighbors. This is the classic example. There's no reason that anyone should have to be dealing with shadow flicker. They don't experience any of it now. They shouldn't have to experience any of it when if and when the project is built. One of the other reasons to advocate for the use of Proposal 2 is enforcement. It's very simple to go outside and look, is there flicker or is there not? That's really simple to determine, really simple to document, and simple for you guys to enforce. You can go out and check. If you use some sort of measurement, 30 minutes a day, 30 hours a year, do you expect your citizens to stand outside with a stopwatch and a video camera? Do you expect them to keep a daily log on how much shadow flicker they're exposed to know if and when it gets beyond 30 hours? Is Apex going to acknowledge the work if they do that, or are they going to come out and say, no, we disagree, and we're not going to do anything about it? I think you create a potential nightmare for yourselves on the Planning Commission for enforcement if you have some sort of 30-hour or 20-hour or 10-hour limit, because the citizens are going to be coming to you, and then you're going to have to figure out, how do we measure this? Do we have someone that's going to stand out there? Do we put video cameras out there, trail cameras to check it 24 hours a day or during daylight hours? How do you enforce that? It becomes an extraordinarily difficult thing to measure and to enforce. And you can avoid all of that by simply saying, no shadow flicker on a non-participating property, period. The other thing I will point out to you in my experience in other communities is that mitigation efforts have proven rather futile. What I've been told our mitigation efforts is, well, we'll buy you some blinds for your house. And if you go on YouTube and type in shadow flicker, you'll find a number of videos where people have brand new blinds installed and that flicker permeates right on through. It's such a large shadow that's going through, and it's so frequent with the change in light, it's going to come through, period. So the mitigation efforts are not very effective. And as Pete pointed out, you're not planting 500-foot trees. So I don't know where you're going to plant these trees that it's going to be effective to mitigate the shadow flicker, unless you're going to put trees up against people's windows of their homes, and I don't suspect that that's going to be very much welcomed by your residents. As is pointed out in my red line, there is software available. There's at least 2 companies that are out there. Vestas, which is one of the turbine manufacturers, they make a shadow detection system that is available for the developer to install. I believe the cost of installation is something less than 0.5% of the total cost of the project. So it's definitely something affordable that they can put in there. And it will eliminate the shadow flicker. You won't have people coming to you complaining because that issue will be resolved. And as Apex pointed out, this is a relatively short duration issue, so they will have relatively minimal upheaval if their turbine is shut down for 30 minutes a day until the sun moves into a different location, and you don't have this problem anymore. They also bring up the idea that it's got a limited medical impact. Notice they don't say that it's none. There is some impact for those people that may have sensitivity to this if they have epilepsy or things of that nature. So it's your job to make sure you protect those residents as well. But one of the things that they don't reference is the right to be free from annoyance. It's long recognized in zoning that people have a right to be reasonably free, quote, reasonably free from annoyance. That's why we have noise limits. That's why we don't allow people to have parties until 3, 4 in the morning blasting music. We send the police out to shut that down because it annoys the neighbors. This is no different. The residents that are going to live next to these turbines, they have a right to be free from annoyance as well. So if they are thankfully not subject to problems from epilepsy, they shouldn't be subjected to shadow flicker simply because they're healthy. They should have a right to be free from that annoyance. As Mr. Preston pointed out, Mason County has 0 shadow flicker. MSU recommends 0 shadow flicker. I believe Claybanks Township also has 0 shadow flicker. Emmett County has 0 shadow flicker. Bridgehampton, it's not noted. Bridgehampton's in the process of amending theirs. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, unintended, that there will be 0 shadow flicker permitted in Bridgehampton, and the same is going to be true in Ellington and Elmer Townships in the not too distant future as well. So it's not like you're out ahead of this. You're not going to be out on your own. You'd be on very solid ground if you decided that as part of the protection for your residents, they shouldn't be subjected to shadow flicker. Now, one of the other things I wanted to address just briefly, Mr. Preston and his group have put together this comparison of other townships and what they're doing. One of the things I'd like to point out is that there's been significant changes in technology and our understanding of the problems associated with wind turbines. Very significant over the last 5 years. I would compare that to, and with the Michigan State study that's come out, I would compare that to an update of the building code. When there's a new building code that's issued, we don't go look and see what the old one was and how that was done. We acknowledge that there's lessons to be learned and we're not going to repeat the mistakes of the past. And we typically will, use the updated building code. This is the same thing. I see no reason to look at ordinances that are 10 or 12 years old. They don't incorporate the latest information. They don't incorporate the latest technology. So why would you want to model yourself after something that's already outdated? So I would strongly encourage you when you're looking at this, it's important to know what else is out there, but you need to kind of look at those a little bit askance if those are older and outdated ordinances because they're not based upon the information that we have as we sit here today. That's pretty much all I have on shadow flicker of the issues that you guys are going to deal with. This is frankly the easiest one for you.
Yeah.
It's very simple to just say, no flicker, install the software, everyone's happy. Minimal impact to Apex. The notion that that's somehow exclusionary doesn't pass the smell test. I'm sorry, but there's nothing exclusionary about it. No one here has shadow flicker now. They shouldn't have it if and when this project ever gets built. Any questions?
Any questions from any board members? None at this time. Yes, sir.
We keep talking about shadow flicker in the day. I mean, sometimes when there's a full moon, I can read a book sitting in my bed. Sometimes with the blind half closed. Shadow flickers at night too, right? Because of the full moon?
Typically, you don't get the same level of impact because it's not such a huge increase between light and dark as it is during the day.
Okay.
You don't see it as much, but the shadow flicker analysis should be able to take that into account as well.
I mean, if the full moon, it's always my bedroom window pointing that way when it comes up, and if there's a window between me and it, I'm going to see something.
Right. You'll experience some amount of flicker, no doubt, but like I said, the software that's available, they should.
Oh, I really think it shut down. I'm just saying,
Right.
We keep saying daylight. Well, maybe we need to control it at night too.
Well, and if you have a 0 shadow flicker limit,
It's not a problem.
period.
Yeah.
That applies day, night, 365 days a year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions or somebody like to ask? Any other comments? Whoop, go ahead.
What's your name again?
My name is Josh Nolan, Nolan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Norm Stevens, Elmer Township. The thumb, and we're being sued by Nextera right now. And Josh just stole my thunder. Drove all this way, and I really don't need to say anything, but what I want to bring up is, I don't know if the people here are aware of the referendums that were voted upon in Sanilac, not Sanilac, excuse me, Huron County. The referendums there to basically allow wind turbines. I need to give some background information before I talk about what's going on. Huron County the people voted almost 2-1 to say, okay, we've had enough is enough was their slogan actually. Sand Beach Township in that area, at the very northeast tip of the thumb, I believe, is voted down more than 5-1, saying we don't want these. Elmer Township, I'm the one that circulated the petitions to draw up the referendum, and that cost the township a lot of money, and we said we don't want them. We don't want that weak ordinance, 55% to 45%. Ingersoll Township, which is south of Midland, had people come into a meeting like this, and there had to be 200 people there. But only about, I think 88, that's what I've got down here, 88 people were given a survey as they walked in. Are you pro-wind? Which is really, I don't like that question, pro-wind or anti-wind, because people say, because I want them to move back at maybe 700 or 800 feet, that I'm anti-wind. No, I just want them, so we don't hear it and we're not subjected to the health effects. 75 out of the 88 said we don't want them. 3 said they were in favor, and 10 were undecided. Okay, I asked, or he's already covered that, Josh has already covered about Bridgehampton, for example, has shadow flicker, and Claybanks, and Elmer more than likely will have 0 shadow flicker, along with Ellington. Again, Elmer is in Carroll, Michigan, and Ellington is right next door to us. All right. Our former board had approved our weak ordinance, the one that I started the referendum on, 6-1. But during the elections in August, the primary, and the November election, 4 of those people were voted out. So the new board will more than likely, because I guess you could say I'm the 8th board member. I don't know if Josh knows who I am. I don't know if Josh would agree with that, but I'm as involved as maybe even some of the board members. But anyway, they will more than likely go with 0 shadow flicker. Will they have a waiver? That part I don't know. I'm going to recommend it because, like Josh says, I think that takes care of any exclusionary zoning. Hey, the pro-wind people want it, the wind lease owners want it, let them have it. Wherever you want it. Okay, now this part, excuse me, I did this at a planning commission meeting. I'm not doing this to be mean, but it certainly sent a message, because I had people coming up to me for months. I don't know, what direction is that? I'm not.
East.
Okay,
North,
let's say
south,
right now that's
west.
south, and the sun is setting over there. And that means that if we had a meeting now, you'd have to close those blinds, because, excuse me, I don't mean
Yeah,
that.
if you live north of the windmill, you're not gonna get shadow flicker, are you?
Let's see, right around here. Is that what you're gonna put up with?
But that's not good. We got these regulators on there.
I know.
Can you stop? That's what I'm asking.
What's that?
Can you stop?
Yeah, I can stop. Okay, now, the
Just to
point
explain to
is,
you, just real quick, these have regulators on.
okay, I
Just
understand.
the one in front of them.
But the point is, we can't stop that unless we file a complaint, and maybe 25 or 30 days later, the wind energy company, whoever they are, and again, they may not be the same wind energy company in 4 or 5 years, but we have to complain, and they may not get there for 25 or 30 days or whatever that limit is. And then when they do show up, the sun has moved a little bit and the shadow flicker isn't quite so bad. So, like I said, a lot of the information Josh has already brought up, but they really need to be 0 shadow flicker, because what Josh said, it can be enforced. You can stand there and you can see that it's happening or it's not happening. Sorry about screwing up the regulators there. I didn't know that. All right, but anyway, I did that for my 3-minute talk at an Elmer Township meeting. And then a former board member, like a year later, stood up and said, remember when Norm went to the switch and he said, that was really annoying, you know? And that's the first time, that was a former board member, a guy that was voted out. He still voted for the weed ordinance, even though I did that, and he said that that was annoying. Why is that? Conflict of interest. That's a whole other ball of wax. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of, or not in favor, but about the wind flicker, the shadow flicker? Any board member like to bring anything up?
I thought it was very enlightening. I was trying to figure out how in the world we could ever regulate shadow flicker, but
I'm
obviously.
trying to figure out the same thing, how we can have technology to get rid of that. I do know that Josh was wrong, that you can't put up curtains that won't have that. Because I was on the third shift, and when you work third shift, daytime's pretty tough to sit there and sleep when it's light out. I have total blackout curtains in my bedroom. Blackout curtain will definitely take care of shadow flicker. Because you won't see it.
But I think the other point was, though, should you be a prisoner in your own house?
Oh, right, I agree with that. I'm just saying, with curtains, you can actually make it blackout.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, to get rid of this total shadow flicker, no, you shouldn't be a prisoner in your own house and have to put up blackout curtains. And I agree with that, but I'm just saying, his explanation that you can't get rid of it by putting up curtains, well, you can, but then you put your papers in your own house.
And you still would have it in your yard and
Right.
your surrounding properties. I thought it was really interesting,
It's a
actually.
good example.
I'm scratching my head today thinking, how in the world can you eliminate it? The sun's always going to be there.
Well, I know there's more to read. I read a lot. I've read more in the last few months than I have, I think, in my entire life. There are certain times of the day the shadow flicker is more prevalent. Obviously, when the sun is lower in the sky, first coming up and first going down. Time of the long shadow, we always call it. And I think some of the remedies that they use is they actually shut the windmills down at those peak shadow hours. And some of the information that I've read across the country, not saying that that's the solution we're looking for here.
Well,
That's just one.
that is, they shut it down. If you say zero shadow flicker, they're working. And then when the shadow gets to your house, the software shuts it off.
Correct.
So yeah, that's exactly what.
So there's remedies for it. It's probably the easiest remedied problem that come with those, I think, that I've seen so far. Any other discussion on that?
There
Anybody
will
else?
also be, maybe somebody more technical than I can answer this, but what if there's more, I mean, we're talking about shadow flicker on one residence. I mean, there could be multiple residences.
Well, absolutely. Anything within the shadow cast of that window. It's not necessarily
So
just
if it
one
was
residence. It could be 15.
Right, if it was affecting
Yeah.
4 or 5 houses, you would have to shut off at various times. Is that how that would work?
I'm not sure on the specifics. Of course, we will have to get a specialist to look at this. Yes, sir.
Some people might be affected, they might have a wind turbine over there, 1,500, or whatever your setback is, 1,500 to 2,000 feet. And then you have one in the morning too.
Correct.
They might have to be shut off twice.
Right, that's what I
twice a
say.
day.
It's
Yeah.
when it's first coming up, first going down is the longest shadows. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Gene. Gene Roos, Middlebury Township. I got a question for Mr. Preston. Is it customary, like, let's say Mr. Nolan can't make one of our meetings, if he gives us a presentation, would you stand up and read it like you did for Apex? Would that go both ways?
I didn't read Apex's verbatim. I picked some, little highlights out of there.
But I mean, would you do that for us if?
I'd definitely pick some highlights. I would hope that Mr. Nolan would maybe tell me what to highlight, so.
I know, I'm just curious, I just thought that if
I wouldn't
they want to speak,
necessarily-
should they be here if they want something to say? I mean,
No, I mean, that's.
We share communication.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, and
Okay.
as much as possible, just like Apex gave us
Me.
tonight, we got it out there as soon as we could, so everybody here would have a copy of it. I mean, but I would hate to have the responsibility to try to represent Mr. Nolan's comments.
We're not going to read one like this.
no, no.
But I mean, if it was a single page statement and you respectfully requested to be read into the record, yeah, you could accommodate that.
No problem. Do you want to say something, sir?
Jerome Wilbur, Fairfield Township. What about the red lights all night that turn your yard all red? That's part of the flicker?
Good question.
Yeah, it is. Real good question. It's like living under airport.
Yeah. It's
You
like
know,
some of
there's something
these,
to be put in there to look at too, along with these flickers.
well, it's all going to be looked at.
I seriously believe that's one of the big factors right there, the red lights blinking all night.
Yeah.
I mean, turns your yard red, you wanna sit out there and barbecue or have a good time, your yard goes red, red, red. And it does happen, so.
In
Not
February,
saying it
I went
doesn't, Bart.
in February, I went to their township meeting. From their township hall, 17 miles away is the closest one. And you can see the whole sky lit up with red. And I didn't know that until I drove out to their township hall.
Well, when you drive down the highway, you can.
Well, on the highway, yes. But I'm talking here in LC, Michigan. You can see them.
Yeah.
And, you know, from North Star.
Well, the more out in the country you are, the more you can see them. Because the farther away you can get from city lights themselves so much up that, I mean, you just go out in the country, you can take and look at the stars better in the country than in the city.
All right. Yes, sir.
Bill, I know you guys have created a list of different topics that are going to be covered each meeting.
Yes.
Has the FAA red lights, is that one of the topics for one of the meetings?
No, not yet, and that's why I wrote down here, the next part of the reason for these meetings is to bring up those things that not everybody's thinking about.
What I can tell you about that issue, in Ellington and Ulmer Township, NextEra has agreed as a condition, if their permit were to be granted, that they would install what is known as radar-activated FAA lights, so that those red lights are not blinking 24 every night. They only come on if there is a plane that is close enough to require them. Once it senses the radar of that plane, then it turns those lights on. And so that is one way that you can kind of shut down the red light districts.
FAA approves that?
Yes.
What are those called again?
It's a radar-activated FAA.
Law for LAUFER.
LAFUR?
LAUFER.
UF.
Google that and it'll pop up and tell you about it.
FER?
Yes, sir. And that's again another thing that you can require to be installed that will, you know, help minimize the impact that this may have on those non-participating property owners.
I wonder why those aren't on the cell towers.
They've only recently been approved.
Uh-huh.
That's probably why.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Somebody has to climb up there and change them.
Yeah. I'll play it off over there. Any other comments? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Well, Rick Zelma, Fairfield Township Supervisor. Whoever did make the meeting, it's unfortunate because the meeting up there was real life experiences there in the wind farm. They're not guessing what's going to be. It is there. And I did drive out. We left early and spent not a lot of time in the middle of that wind farm because it drove me crazy. But I mean, that's the only thing you see. The flicker was everywhere. It was 6 o'clock, 5:30 in the afternoon. It's coming, and there are as far as you can see. It's rather flat up there. I think it'd be pretty decent looking agricultural ground without it. But the noise is there. We didn't pull up to one. We just stopped on the side of the road where there was a spot to stop. Took a lot of pictures. I'll bring them next month. The flicker's there. The noise is there. But the experiences, and the chair of that meeting was Representative Gary Glenn. And he was the chair of the Energy Commission there at the House of Representatives. It was a very well held meeting. But like most of the meetings, there was very much positive said. A lot of issues with conflict of interest, shadow, noise, health concerns, and it was a great learning experience to hear of people that have lived there for years, and they're dealing with it and their values, and it's, I know there's some videos of it online, so if you get a chance, I'd suggest whoever wasn't there to check it out, because it was pretty intense.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else have any? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Chris Delaney, Brush Township. I think it should not, the shadow flicker should not be just on a dwelling, but on people, you know, not at all on the property. We have a pond that's stocked and fishing at. We have a basketball court, backgammon. We have a swimming pool. You know, we have golf cart rallies on our property. We have people all the time. I agree, it should not be just limited to my house. I should have to be in my house when I want to be out, you know, swimming in the pool, having family over and everything. I think it should be not allowed. If I'm not participating, it should not be on my 80 acres.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I believe that concludes.
If I could just say one thing, Mr.
Yes.
Chair? The next item will be setbacks.
Yes.
Now, so we take the height of the tower that we've looked at, we take noise, which has a distance associated with it. We have shadow flicker that also is distance related too. So when we do this again, we'll be making some assumptions on height and noise in order to move through the setback.
They're not cut in stone. no,
There,
after that.
thank you,
It's
Mr.
just
Chair. I feel
assumptions.
You say
Yes.
it so nice and right to the point, I gotta beat around the bush, but when we make these assumptions, we're making them kind of what we feel. So, you know, I hope the public can understand that as too, you know, we're talking about setbacks, nothing's cut in stone, and, you know, these relationships are gonna be drawn between, you know, distance that noise is, the height of the tower, and we'll kind of go from there, but.
I can see, they haven't had 600-foot towers anywhere, or tower, yeah, anywhere that I know.
Yeah, there are some that exist already.
Okay.
Yeah, this wouldn't be the forefront. But anyway, yes, ma'am.
This Sheila Ralph, Shiawassee Township, the 600-foot towers only exist in the ocean. They're not on land.
There's not any in Indiana?
No.
They'll be behind our house pretty soon if they get their way.
Right.
Two of
Well,
them.
that's,
Yes, the 600-foot towers are in the ocean.
They're proposing some in northwest Ohio, and there's been proposal in Indiana, but I don't believe those have been built yet.
well, yeah, okay, I've read a lot of stuff. Maybe it proposed, I thought there was already 3 of them in existence, but maybe not. I could be wrong, I have been before. But anyway, we're here to discuss the flicker anyway. So any other discussion on the flicker? Would anybody like to address anything or make a comment? Hearing none. Any comments from board members?
I just want to know where that gentleman's, where he cut the videos from online.
I see when regulated Facebook, there's somebody out there from, I don't know who it was, on their Facebook page.
Okay.
Regulated wind of Shiawassee, regulated wind for Shiawassee County. Go to that website, Facebook page. They're on there about 3 different times. You'll see that it's about an hour and 23 minutes long, is that right? Of Mr. Glenn speaking for the crowd at Carroll.
Was it?
Regulated wind of Shiawassee County. Or for Shiawassee County. It's a Facebook page.
And that particular meeting really solidified Mr. Nolan's comments about the ordinances that are in fact aren't working there.
Okay. Anything else from staff? That concludes that part of our meeting. Thank you, everybody. We're going to move on now.